there was this one guy in the corner, and I think everyone thought that he belonged to somebody else. And then everyone left the room, and I was like, hey, what are you doing here?
Hi. Welcome to the ENERGY Startalk. Let's just start talking about the current single with Alessia Cara. This is a single you wrote yourself and used to sing for yourself. Is that right? And now you did a new thing together with her.
Yeah. I just was traveling one time and somebody sent me a message. Like, I always just read Twitter, and I try to read as many messages as I can. And someone who's a fan of mine and hers said, hey, you should check out this interview that she's doing. She really likes your music. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I just tweeted her, and she responded, and exchanged phone numbers, and I asked her if she would sing on the song, and she was like, sure.
Wow, this is an amazing
she sent
story.
me a voice memo like the next day. Yeah, it's crazy what you can do on Twitter. You know, I've met so many other artists through, you know, just reaching out to them on social media.
What was the feeling for you when you tried to get in touch with this idea of giving away a little of your song to another one?
Well, I didn't feel like I was giving a piece of it away. And sometimes, you know, not on this version. I feel like this version was really well received. But sometimes sometimes art doesn't have to be done once you put it out. It could be living and breathing. And so the good thing about that is that when you update a version of a song, if people prefer the original version still exists.
And this thing that happened to you when you were, I guess you were 18 when the thing with the label happened.
Yeah.
So you were right on the way, very high, very close to very big success. And then plans changed, and you had to do another way and to get it in another track. Right. And it still happened. You're here today, so it worked out very well.
Yeah.
But what do you think about second chances, or maybe different ways to go when there is a second in your life where you recognize, okay, it won't figure out this way, so I gotta search for another way?
Well, I think if you want to do something, I think sometimes it not working on the first try is a blessing, because then you realize how difficult it is and how hard you have to work, and also you learn a lot from your mistakes. So, you know, sometimes people make it on the first run, and then they maybe think it's easier than it is, you know, and maybe they don't have as much respect for how difficult it is to, you know, have success in any given field. So I'm pretty grateful for the fact that I had a few setbacks. Yeah, it was a bummer at first, but it is what it is.
I read a wonderful story about John Mayer asking you to come into his, I guess it was an Instagram kind of live situation.
I went to his house. I'm like a really big John Mayer fan. He's one of my favorite artists. And so I woke up one day, I was on tour in the United States, and one of my friends sent me a message and was like, you should check your Instagram. And he had been posting about my music all day. I was asleep, so I missed most of it, but I saw it when I woke up, and he sent me a message on Instagram. And it's funny because I had messaged him like a year before on Instagram saying like, I love you, you know, and I never thought he'd see it. But then when he went to send me a message, he saw it. So I was like, oh man, I wish I would have erased that message. But it was really cool. And I got to go to his house and perform with him. And now he's my friend. So we talk all the time, and he sends me like voice memos of his songs and all of his new music he sent me. It's really cool.
Wow, how amazing is that? Really nice.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real.
So are there any big dreams left for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think my biggest dream is I want to like have a family. So that would be nice. All the stuff about like doing music is great, but what I have realized though is the older I get, the more important my family becomes. And so like it'd be dope to like have one that I could start myself at some point. Because, you know, stuff in music is great, but it doesn't last forever. And it's nice to have people to talk to that care about you at the end of every day when you get off the road, you know, and it's weird because there's so many highs and lows in music, and, you know, you get off a stage and there's all these people that are there and they're excited and they applaud, and then you get back to your hotel room and it's silent. So it's got to have some family that cares about you to talk to. Yeah. It's really weird. So
how do you calm down or try to get back to yourself and to your inner self while traveling the whole world? Do you have some rituals or something that you do every single time to?
I think that I ended up with a really good group of people. And so every night, like when I go back to the hotel room, I have some really awesome people to hang out with, and that makes everything better. So that's pretty much it. There's no ritual. We just hang out and go to sleep.
Do you have fans in the audience that are traveling behind you, something like people who are there every single show, every single time. Do you recognize them?
Yes, they're at the door at 11 a.m. at every single show, which is crazy because it's so cold out. And when we just played in Norway, and it was like, 5 degrees or something like that. And there's a couple people just sitting outside in the cold. And it's a really, well, at first I felt really bad because it was freezing, but it's also a great feeling to know that people care enough to come to every single show.
And do you know if a fan of yours has ever done a funny or maybe scary thing just to get in close to you? No. So like doing maybe a tattoo on the skin of lyrics or something like that.
I was playing one night, and I had a bunch of friends come to hang out in the dressing room before the show, and then I was making everyone leave like 5 minutes before I get on stage just so I could have a minute to calm down. And there was this one guy in the corner, and I think everyone thought that he belonged to somebody else, and then everyone left the room, and I was like, hey, what are you doing here? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, why? I was like, how'd you get in here? He's like, oh, I just walked in. I was like, get out. Yeah, it was crazy, but he was really nice. And I'm happy to meet him, but don't wander into my dressing room, please. Yeah,
please don't. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I like get changed and things in there, so I don't want anyone that I don't personally notice to be there for that. Yeah, absolutely,
because that's your private space. Right. You don't want anyone to be in your flat or in your apartment as well. Yeah. So
unfortunately, on tour you don't get much private space. Like everywhere you go, it's like you don't get any time alone. But that's okay.